Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We'll just wait a minute to allow everybody to join and then we'll get started. I think we might make a start. Welcome to today's webinar, An Introduction to Little Learners Love Literacy. My name is Suzanne and I'm a teacher coach at Little Learners Love Literacy. I began my teaching journey about 20 years ago, and like many schools at that time, we were deeply entrenched in a whole language approach. And while this method was very popular, I really found it challenging to grasp how children truly learned to read and spell, and I didn't find any joy in teaching literacy. However, when I took on roles as a learning and teaching leader and deputy principal, I had the opportunity to guide teachers in adopting a systematic and synthetic phonics approach. And the shift made a remarkable difference. I witnessed more engaging learning experiences following the teaching sequence, teachers collecting and analysing data to inform whole class teaching and to identify students who needed additional support, and more students engaged and learning, and less students being referred for intervention. I know your time is precious, and I thank you for joining our webinar today, both those who are attending live and those who are watching our recording. My goal today is to support you with an introduction to Little Learners Love Literacy. We'll talk about professional learning, teaching resources, practice and application games, decodable books, intervention resources for older children, and assessments for reading and spelling. We also have Maureen with us today. She is the founder of Little Learners Love Literacy, and she will be with us for the duration of the webinar to answer any questions that you might have in the Q&A. So if you've got a question during the presentation, please feel free to write it in the Q&A section, or you can raise your hand during our question time at the end of the presentation. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connection to land, sea, and community. I'd like to pay my respect to the elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. So, learning to read and spell is not natural, nor is it easy for many children. Little Learners Love Literacy is an explicit teaching program, and it's designed to get all children to read and spell with confidence. It uses an evidence-informed, systematic, synthetic phonics approach to ensure every child can succeed. On the screen, you will see the resources from our program and what these look like. So our program comprises of professional learning. We have teaching resources, practice and application games, decodable books, intervention resources for older children, and assessments for reading and spelling. Little Learners Love Literacy teaches phonemic awareness and phonics for reading and spelling, and we teach spelling from the very beginning of the program alongside reading. We teach morphology for spelling and comprehension, handwriting, and vocabulary, which is vital for reading comprehension and oral language skills. And this is the foundation upon which all our literacy learning is built. So in today's webinar, we will have a quick introduction into phonics before we explore our scope and sequence and resources. So phonics is the understanding that the sounds in our spoken language, the phonemes, can be expressed by letters or combinations of letters called graphemes as part of a written language. So a phoneme is a speech sound that we might say or hear. We have 44 phonemes in English, depending on your accent, and these sounds combine to make up all of our spoken words. A grapheme is a letter or a group of letters that we read or write. Graphemes can be one letter, or they can be a group of 2 or 3 or 4 letters that all represent the one sound. There are multiple graphemes for each phoneme, over 250 graphemes. It's also the ability to use this knowledge, and this knowledge is known as the alphabetic code to read and spell words. Little Learners Love Literacy explicitly teaches systematic synthetic phonics, that is, teaching the relationship between phonemes and graphemes in a clear and logical order, so children can blend or synthesize the phonemes to read words accurately from an early point without any guessing. So, teaching phonics is really giving children the instructions on how to crack the alphabetic code. And the alphabetic code works in two directions. You can decode words by matching the print to sound, so saying each sound in the written word and then blending the sounds together to read the word. Or you can encode by matching the sounds to print, segmenting and identifying each sound in the word before you write the letters that represent those sounds. So we can see the example on the screen, the word cat. So if we were decoding, we would see each of those graphemes, the CAT, and then we would say the sound for each of those graphemes and blend them together to read the words. So cat, hat. For encoding, we would hear the word cat, we would identify a phoneme that we could match to each of those sounds, and then identify the grapheme and write CAT. So even though spelling is more difficult and it does take longer to master, reading or decoding and spelling or encoding are flip sides of the same coin, which makes a systematic synthetic phonics approach a very efficient teaching approach, because spelling is taught from the very beginning alongside reading using that same alphabetic knowledge. This is our phonics scope and sequence of 7 stages, introducing simple letter sound relationships and gradually introducing the complex alphabetic code, so the multiple spellings of consonant and vowel phonemes. In Little Learners Love Literacy, we teach all 44 phonemes in a systematic order, and we start with sounds that children find easier to articulate and blend together to make words. A range of common spellings for each phoneme is taught. So there are hundreds of grapheme phoneme correspondences in the English language, but we focus on the most common words, the most common ones, and this gives students access to more words at a faster rate. Phonemic awareness and phonics skills are throughout our program every day. So we teach both pure phonemic awareness, so the oral only, and phonemic awareness and phonics together with the letters. The more alphabetic code knowledge or letter knowledge the children master, the more combined phonemic and phonic work is done, and this is recommended by research. So this is our Little Learners Love Literacy teaching sequence. Each stage is designed to move students' knowledge and skills on in small steps, building on the last. It's our core learning content. As I said before, there are hundreds of grapheme phoneme correspondences in the English language, but we are focusing on the most common ones to give students access to more words at a faster rate. So in the first term of foundation, the children learn the simple code, so A to Z, where there is one sound to one grapheme, so one phoneme to one grapheme correspondence. In term 3 and 4, students learn that 2 letters making the one sound is called a digraph, and they also learn the skill of blending adjacent consonants in words, where the focus continues to be on blending quickly while also adding to students' cognitive load. So moving from 3 sounds in a word, so consonant, vowel, consonant, to 4 plus when reading and spelling. In stages +4 and 5, students are also introduced to morphology, where they add the S, the ES, and the ED suffix. In year 1, we move on to systematically teaching long vowels and alternative spellings. So we teach the most common graphemes associated with the spelling rules. So for example, when teaching A, we look at AI, so A as in snail, and AY, A as in clay. And we teach the students that AI is never at the end of the word. We also cover less common spellings for A as in they, A as in 8, A as in straight for those students that need to be extended. In Year 1, we also teach homophones, R-controlled vowels, and morphology, so the un prefix and suffixes ER and ING, along with the doubling rule and the drop the E rule. So that brings us to our Year 2 sequence. In term 1 of Year 2, we're aiming to consolidate the complex alphabetic code taught in Year 1 with a particular focus on spelling. In terms 2 and 3, in stage 7, Unit 5, we're focusing mostly on morphology, and we're introducing the final of the 3 spelling rules of Y to I. In term 3 to 4, we're introducing stage 8. So this unit entirely focuses on morphology, systematically teaching new prefixes and suffixes while revising previously learned content of phonics and morphology. The content in our teaching sequence is taught explicitly throughout the program, and explicit teaching means that we never ask learners to do anything that they haven't been taught or practiced with the help of a teacher and their peers. As teachers, we make no assumptions. We follow the I do, we do, you do model and check for understanding at each of these stages and tweak accordingly. So whether it's through reteaching or doing more worked examples together, spending longer on independent practice and application, or arranging for extra instruction or intervention for those 1 or 2 who may be struggling to keep up or grasp new concepts. For this to work effectively, you need to have learning intentions or objectives that are really specific and achievable, and each lesson has been planned in a logical sequence to build little bit by little bit. Small steps keep the bulk of the students progressing together and make it easier for you to identify any issues to address them. Additionally, effective explicit teaching using little learners leverages many advantages of instructional routines to explicitly teach small steps while managing students' cognitive load. So instructional routines help reduce cognitive load, boost motivation, and are really crucial for making learning stick, because they help students to learn new things faster by focusing on the what and not the how. They reduce the amount of new novel information that students have to process, and this reduces their cognitive load. Instructional routines help to keep students' attention, and they also help to reduce teachers' planning time as well as teachers' cognitive load. The grid that you can see on the screen can be downloaded from our website. It correlates each of the little learners' teaching routines, resources and activities with the skills and knowledge for oral language, phonemic awareness, phonics for decoding and for encoding, fluency, vocabulary and handwriting. So each of the Little Learners routines is scripted in the Little Learners Love Literacy playbook, and you'll find this at the beginning of our teacher activity resource books. On the screen, you'll see our explicit teaching routine, and we use the principles of revise, teach, practice, apply to explicitly teach children in the classroom. And our plans follow this explicit structure every day. The teacher activity resources are really important to guide you with your teaching. They contain a weekly overview with the background information that you'll need, a summary of the knowledge and skills to be taught, the daily learning foci, the weekly plans with the routines for each day using that revise, teach, practice and apply model. And there's teaching notes as well to provide you with additional support. So this is our instructional model. We revise to ensure automatic recall of the phoneme grapheme correspondences taught. We teach, so we identify from the Little Learner sequence what we'll teach next. We plan how the children will practice this skill to reach mastery. They apply this knowledge to reading decodable text and independent writing. And the LARS and the LAS are our formal assessment tools that we use twice a year to monitor progress and establish a learning pathway. But of course, we are checking for understanding throughout every aspect of the Little Learners teaching model. The slide you can see on the screen demonstrates what the model would look like in stage 1, but this can be applied to all stages in the scope and sequence. And we'll have a look at some of these routines in more detail and look at the resources available in the program for each. So we start with a short phonemic warm up at the start of every session in stages 1 to 4, and then 4 days per week in stages +4, 5, and 6. We do the pure phonemic work, so blending and segmenting with Ali Alligator, who only speaks in sounds. We have various Ali Talk activities to get children moving, as well as honing their foundational phonemic skills. We use Robot Walk for phonological awareness at that syllable level, and there are other activities that are scheduled throughout the week as well. Some of our revised instructional routines include our speed sounds and chants, as well as our speed words. And we also revise previously taught concepts here, such as heart words as required. Here's what speed sounds and chants look like. So revising previously taught grapheme and phonemes.
What a mess. Huff and puff. Up the hill. Ooh. Black duck. K. Shed shop. Shh. Chicken and chips.
So then we progress to the teach component of our lesson. And there's a number of explicit routines and activities to work through here, including our sound box, Milo's birthday surprise, decoding and choral reading, handwriting instruction, super spelling, sound swap, as well as spelling on mini whiteboards. So, Little Learners Love Literacy is a multi-sensory language approach. And we begin a lesson by getting the children to hear the focus sound, to articulate it, to see it so they can read it. And then finally, we explicitly teach children how to write it. We begin our lesson with a sound box, and this is designed to introduce a new phoneme or sound. The activity at the beginning is to build awareness of the sound, so phonemic awareness, before linking the sound to a letter, phonics. The teacher puts a range of objects or pictures that begin with the focus sound into a box, and then children take out an object and identify it. So you can see here we have a magnet, a muffin, some maracas, a mushroom, and a mandarin. So not only is it a great opportunity for students to be able to hear the sound and articulate it themselves, but it's a great opportunity to develop vocab and concept knowledge as well. After the children have identified the sound, we would then state our learning intention. So this is the sound children can look in a mirror so they can see what their lips are doing, and mirrors are really useful for this. And then we use the sound box all through the Little Learners scope and sequence. We use Marlo's birthday surprise picture storybook as the platform to introduce students to the graphemes of the simple code. You can see a spread on the screen. It says it's a Monday morning in March, and it's Milo the monkey's birthday. Milo is munching on a muffin while he makes a list of friends who might like to come and play. So you can see the features of the text there. There's alliteration. There's that phonemic awareness through the multiple objects starting with there's the distinction between the upper and lowercase letters. It's a fun and engaging storyline with great pictures as well. We explicitly teach handwriting. So you can use a whiteboard to do this, and the teacher would model and verbalize your actions and thoughts. We do have a script to help you with this that can be found in our teacher activity resource. The teacher would model this a couple of times before then asking the student to have a go themselves on their whiteboards. So moving on now to super spelling, this is a wonderful whole class routine, provides an opportunity to get our bodies moving, and an even better opportunity for teachers to make the most of error correction. There are two ways that you can do super spelling. The first is word building, and the second is sound swap. The teacher hands out cards and dictates a word. The class would then segment the word, and children with the sound cards would then stand up and spell the word at the front of the room. The teacher leads the class to sound out and blend the word just to check the spelling, and then the children can correct any errors with teacher support as a class. Spelling on mini whiteboards is a great progression from the very scaffolded super spelling. In this activity, the teacher dictates the word, and you'll notice the correlation between these words and the words used for super spelling. The students then segment the words and then write them on their whiteboard. It's a really good example of the I do, the we do, and the you do that we previously discussed. We have some more scaffolded teacher-led practice with small groups or the whole class. This could include let's spell, let's write, read and grab, or sound swap, as well as handwriting, sound and write, read, write, draw, and decodable quizzes. I will take you through each of these routines or resources to support you in getting the most out of them when implementing them with your class. There's also opportunity for students to practice independently. This could include handwriting, sound and write, and read, write, and draw, as well as our decodable quizzes. So this is our Let's Spell. So firstly, you're going to hand out a copy of the Let's Spell sheet to each child. You start the Let's Spell by saying the first word on the list and putting it into a sentence. So the first word is red. The traffic light is red, red. Then you would ask the children, what's the word? And the children would repeat the word red. Then from the selection of letters, the children would need to circle the correct grapheme. And you can see this demonstrated on the slides. And you ask them to say the sounds as they circle the letters, d. Students would then write the word. So during this time, you're going to watch and listen and ensure that the correct graphemes are being circled and vocalized. You want to correct any mistakes as they happen because this is the teaching time. Once the students have written all the words, they can together chorally read their list of words. Students then fold the page down the dotted line and the teacher dictates the words to the students without any scaffolding or sentences. The teacher or the students, write the words, and then once they've written all the words, they can open their page back out and check if they have spelt the words correctly. This routine is one of my favourites. It really allows the children to feel successful, and we know that success builds confidence and engagement. We have Let's Write, which is dictation at varying levels of difficulty for each stage. You can see on the screen the different stages, and you can see how the complexity of the content increases as children move from the simple to the complex code. We have words, phrases, and sentences for each stage. We'll take a closer look now at sound and write, and again note the progression of sound and write as we move along the sequence. At each stage, we are practicing the grapheme phoneme correspondences. At 7.1, which is on the right of the screen, you can see that 2 graphemes represent the phoneme. Where the children are practicing handwriting as they say the sound, and the decoding words with the target grapheme phoneme correspondence. We are initially decoding words, but then we can progress to encoding own sentences, and the students are able to illustrate to demonstrate their comprehension. We do have a couple of different handwriting routines, including sound and write and rainbow write, and handwriting that you can see here on the screen. All the practice routines are housed in the teacher activity resource books, and we also have them in practice workbooks. The practice workbooks are not compulsory, but you might find that having already printed resources may be convenient to some schools and act as a record of progress and work completed all in the one place. We have many practice and apply games that you can see on our screen. The first that I'll run you through is Read and Grab word game. It's another favourite of mine. It's a fun card game for about 2 to 6 players, and I really like this one because it gives children lots of practice decoding and blending to read words using their phonics knowledge. Children often call this game the thief game. If a player has a word card with a matching colour and character, they can grab the card and reread it. There's lots of rereading of the cards as they go backwards and forwards, and the aim is to collect the matching set of 5 cards. Once the child has 5 cards, they have a set, and no one can take them from them. They are yours. It's a quick, competitive card game. It encourages the children to read single words automatically and consolidate the phonics knowledge that you have taught to date. Sound Swap is an interactive word game that teaches children how to use letters to make, manipulate, and read words through the use of word chains. There's a corresponding book that has all the word chains from stage 1 all the way to stage 7 to support you. So read, write, and draw. It does sound simple, but we'll quickly unpack the procedure for you. So students select a card, they read it, they then reread it to a partner, they write it, so they can either turn it over or have it in front of them for guidance. Students then read their writing back and make any corrections, referring to the card as needed. They draw a picture to show their comprehension of what they've written. And you can see the student example here. It's a great way to build vocabulary. There are words with multiple meanings included. It's great independent reading, spelling, handwriting, and comprehension routine. And again, we've got that 3 levels of challenge for differentiation built in with the word, phrase, and sentence level. So moving on now to some additional decoding practice with our decodable quizzes. They are unique and simple quizzes giving children practice of reading short decodable questions matched to the teaching sequence and are perfect for sentence level reading practice. The questions are fun and quirky. They do provide a springboard for interesting discussion, and this helps to develop oral language, vocab, and comprehension. We have our Whiz Kids quiz, which contains 120 large format illustrated questions that link to the Whiz Kids stages 1 to 4 decodable books. We have Tim's quiz, which has 170 question cards linked to Pip and Tim stages +4, 5, and 6. And we have our new Big Worlds decodable quiz. So when answering the fun and quirky questions, the children can draw on information they've read in the Little Learners Big World decodable book series or their own background knowledge to justify their answers of yes, no, or maybe. So again, great springboard for interesting discussions to develop oral language and vocabulary skills. The Little Learners Big World quiz is for stages 7.1 and 7.2. And they can use these quizzes during partner play or also as a whole class. We then apply by reading decodable books. So decodable books are stories or non-fiction texts that are written for young or struggling learners to read by decoding, so sounding out and blending the sounds to read words. Each decodable book only uses sounds and letters that the children have been explicitly taught to date. They provide maximum repetition of the new letters and sounds taught that week. They avoid predictable sentence structures. They use age appropriate vocabulary. They're engaging and meaningful and contain continuous text that allow the reader to build their vocabulary and comprehension skills while building their fluency. Our decodable books also have a small number of heart words. So, our guiding principle is that children should never be asked to read something that is too difficult for them or that they don't have the skills to read. So, we want to ensure that students have all the necessary tools to read before they even pick up one of our decodable books. Heart words, which I just mentioned previously, are common words that aren't decodable for the reader. So often we need students to read or spell high frequency words before they've had the chance to learn the phonics pattern in the word. For instance, the word for is a regular common word, but students generally need to read it before they've been explicitly taught R controlled vowels like OR. So in this case, we would mark the OR part of the word with a heart. The Little Learners Love Literacy heart words help to construct meaningful sentences in our decodable books. And the heart words are an important component of our approach as they do allow students to read more connected text independently more quickly. So we explicitly teach heart words. So even though the children cannot fully decode these words, we do still teach them by breaking the words into their phonemes, and we explain which bit is the unknown bit. And it may or may not become decodable in later stages of the program. We do not teach them by memorizing the shape of the word or by any other memorization strategy. So you can see on the screen that we have the heart word my, and this comes from stages 1 and 2. You can split the word into two sounds or phonemes, I. Where the children know a grapheme phoneme correspondence, we acknowledge that. So, for in this instance, the in my, they would know, and then we would give them the unknown bit, and you could mark this grapheme with a heart if you like. At the early stage, if all the grapheme phoneme correspondences are unknown, that's okay as well. We just want to ensure that children can orally segment the word into phonemes. You can refer to our teacher activity resource books and other resources for support. So our original decodable book series is called Pip and Tim, and it's all about the Zan family of Box Hill, which comprises of brother and sister Tim and Pip, their mum Jen, their dad Ron, and their pets Sam and Tip. And children love the continuity of the adventures of Pip and Tim as they find out more about their lives, their teachers and friends, who also include the very naughty Smith twins, Beth and Seth. Here's a look at what the inside of our Pip and Tim stages 1 to 4 books look like. And you can see again, this is the inside of our stages +4, 5 and 6. And again, in stage 7. Our Whiz Kids series have different characters for each stage and they match our Little Learners scope and sequence. There's a lot of diversity and humour in this series. It's a fun and funky series. It provides lots of additional reading practice, again, matched to the Little Learners stages. There's new characters introduced at every stage to help keep the students engaged and provide that variety. The stories are perfect for children to continue developing their decoding skills and their fluency, with plenty to discuss and explore as well. Little Learners Big Worlds is decodable non-fiction series, and it's to inspire your curious little learners. It covers a range of cross-curricular topics and text types, packed with rich vocabulary. Children will build content knowledge and vocabulary, which is vital for the development of comprehension. And the non-fiction text features are used throughout, including labels, captions, fact files, contents, heading, tables, indexes, and as well as diagrams and infographics that you can see on the screen. Here are some examples of the inside pages, again from stages 1 to 4, right up to stage 7. You might have seen in our recent catalogue that we have a new series coming soon. So we're thrilled to announce the exciting new series launching later this year called Wild Detectives. These books will follow the same Little Learners series sequence, and the series has both fiction and non-fiction text. So get ready to meet some delightful new characters as they embark on some thrilling adventures together. This is our fluency resource for Year 2. We have 2 fluency fun passages or books at this stage. They contain 5 texts for each week. On days 1 to 4, there are partner reading texts, and on day 5, we have some readers' theatre text. The texts include fluency pyramids, stories, comic strips, a range of non-fiction text types, so poems, dialogues, play scripts, and rhymes. They are illustrated by Jules Faber, who you might know as the illustrator of the Weirdo series, and many more. Fox Kid is our decodable chapter book that again follow our scope and sequence. This series has been specifically designed to use as an intervention tool to help our older struggling readers. Here's a look at the inside spread of Fox Kid. You can see that they are a simple decodable text with a high level of interest for our readers. We also have a student workbook and a game called Kablam to support the use of the Fox Kid series. Here's an example of the workbook. You can see that we're focusing on phonics and our writing skills as well. We have home reading journals, which will help parents and carers to establish and maintain a regular routine using the decodable books and library books sent home from school. You can send the journal home with decodable books for children to read to their parents and library books for parents to read to their children and discuss using the tips included in the journal. The children and parents fill in the reading log each night they read together. Each night of reading is numbered, and the children achieve rewards and activities after every 25 nights of reading. In addition to our ongoing formative assessment, which teachers will naturally gain through the use of the Little Learners program by checking for understanding during whole class teaching, reviews, student written work, and small group observation. We also have 3 formal assessments in the Little Learners toolkit. We have the TOPL for testing phonological awareness. We have the LARS, which is our reading assessment, and we also have the LAS, our spelling assessment. And together, these 3 assessments will provide you with a robust data set from which you can plan your whole class teaching and interventions, as well as how you'll address individual student needs. By assessing and monitoring student skills, identifying in diagnostic detail the specific needs of each student, demonstrating what students know and their ability to apply their knowledge to spell and read, and to provide a formal assessment and ongoing record of the skills achieved. Our Little Learners online platform is a subscription service. It's designed to complement our physical books and resources. We're aiming to reduce the amount of planning and preparation needed for each week of the Little Learners Love Literacy teaching, and making sure that students can access the decodable books at home for vital practice. We've just got a short clip to show you now. And we do have our Little Learners online demonstration webinar next Monday. So if you do want to know more about the platform and the assessments that they're launching soon on the platform, do register for that. So that's all for today's free webinar session. We also have a range of professional learning support that you can access. We have Teaching Little Learners Love Literacy workshops, which are held at the Hub in Melbourne, as well as interstate locations. So check our website and also our partner New South Wales Spells website for dates. We do hold workshops online through Zoom, and you can complete the training in 2 days or in 6 after-school sessions. And we also take requests to run workshops in your school. So do have a look at our website. We've got a special offer on at the moment. If you book a in-school workshop, then you'll receive a free foundation teacher toolkit. So it's a really wonderful way to get everybody on board in your school. The workshops include facilitation from experienced teacher presenters, the professional learning materials and resources that you need. There are 4 online pre-workshop modules, and there's hands-on experience, support and coaching to implement the Little Learners routines, and there's pre and post-workshop support from our team. Just before we wrap up today, I just want to share a case study with you that you can view on our website in your own time, some of our other case studies. But it's great to hear this experience from Lisa about what it's been like implementing Little Learners Love Literacy at her school.
My name is Lisa Bellman Ansell. I'm the reading specialist at New Gisborne Primary School. In 2017, at the end of term 3, I had over a third of the foundation cohort referred to me as at risk of not going to reach end of year benchmark levels. So a school with really hardworking, dedicated teachers, we couldn't get over a third of our foundation cohort to minimum statewide standards. So obviously things needed to change. I chose Little Learners because it was really fun and engaging for the students. It was very easy to follow for the teachers. It practiced the 6 key components of effective reading instruction. It was a systematic synthetic phonics approach, which is what all of the bulk of the research was telling me. The catalyst was really the decodable books so that my students were able to apply what they were learning in context. So firstly, I implemented Little Learners into my Tiers 2 and 3 support program. And then after learning quite a bit about the program, I then implemented it into the Tier 1 or the whole classroom program in 2018. I found the implementation process actually quite easy. So first I did the initial teacher training and then I found Little Learners to be really open. The support didn't stop at the end of the training. It's very much ongoing. So I was able to contact Little Learners anytime I had a question, and they would always answer me in a very detailed way, in a very timely fashion. Yeah, in a nutshell, it is happy and confident Little Learners. So we just don't have the amount of reluctant readers because all of our students are experiencing success. And we've really been able to reduce those instructional casualties. So like I said at the beginning, we started off with over 33% of our students at risk of not reaching end of year standards. We've been able to reduce that down to around about 5%. We've also seen a significant increase in our spelling data. And of course, the flow-on effect means that our writing composition is really, really strong. If I was to implement Little Learners, again, if I had my time over, I would ensure that everyone was on board, that the whole school was PD'd in the science of reading, the why we were implementing Little Learners, as well as really getting the community on board. I think any school embarking on a science of reading backed approach really needs to think about implementing a program with fidelity. So Little Learners has researched every element. They really are the experts.
So if you'd like to keep up to date with our resources, our free downloads, professional learning and more, you can sign up to our newsletter using the QR code on your screen, or if you go to our website, there's a link at the bottom of every page. When you sign up, you can opt in to also receive our blog posts as well. We'd love to see you again for another free webinar. We run webinars on a range of topics each week during term time. I'll just ask Maureen to stop the recording, and then we might